Good morning, Stewart's Chapel. This is Tuesday's devotion. Don Pierson here. I'm just a swinging. I think there's an old song about someone named Charlotte Johnson or something, just a swinging. Well, that's not me, and I'm hoping this swing's been here for 15 years. I put it up for my grandchildren who pretty much have outgrown it, and I got a feeling my great-grandchildren are going to enjoy it. But the good thing is, I put it up with a good solid chain, so hopefully the branch doesn't break. Anyway, we're in verse 4 of James 4. Just one verse. Now let me tell you something. There's times when I read a verse in Scripture and I have to remind myself that this is God writing, because if it was just James, I think James would have needed to be rebuked, but this is God. Now, this comes right after he's just told them that the reason they're at war is because of their own evil desires. They've been at war. So verse 4, adulterers and adulteresses, do you not know that friendship with the world is enmity with God? Good question. Do you not know that companionship, walking with the world, is against the very thing that God desires? He calls them adulterers and adulteresses. Now, these are Jewish Christians. Remember that. If they were Gentile Christians, he might call them something else. But these are Jewish Christians. And the Jews were very familiar with God calling them adulterers and adulteresses, because they were constantly turning their back on Yahweh, Jehovah, the one and only God, towards other idols and other gods. And he called them adulterers in doing that. Not just idolaters, but adulterers. They would leave their first love. Well, now the same language is used for Christians, Jewish Christians, in saying to them, you have done the same thing as your forefathers. You've turned your back on me and you've become an adulterer. And they had. By the way, he said that they had opened the doorway to the devil. They had embraced him. Their hearts were consumed by it. They had become friends with the world, and that made them enemies of God. Listen to the next sentence. Whoever therefore wants to be a friend of the world makes himself an enemy of God. Real simple devotion. Are you a friend of God or an enemy of God? Now he's talking to Christians. When a Christian embraces the desires, the earthly and fleshly desires of the earth, then the god of this world, the devil, becomes the one they're worshiping. And they become idolaters, and thus they become adulterers, because we are the bride, and we belong. We have been bought. We belong to God. We live in the world, but we are not of the world. We live in the world, but we are to be separate from the world. We live in the world, but we are to be different of the world. The world is not our friend. We are pilgrims passing through. This is not our home. Be careful how deep you put your roots. You may find out that you have become an enemy of God. Love you, Stewart's Chapel.